Hello, good evening, and or whenever you find this. Welcome. Today we're going to be reading Gods with Amnesia, Subterranean Worlds of Inner Earth by Robert Sepehr. So let's get right into it. I did read this a long time ago, so it'll be like discovering it again. Introduction. Where does the oxygen we breathe come from? Surface trees and rainforests are responsible for less than 1/3 of the Earth's oxygen, while marine plants, such as phytoplankton, are responsible for between 70 to 80% of the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere. While protecting the rainforest is a noble and worthwhile endeavor, which I support wholeheartedly, for the purposes of this book, I felt it was important to establish that the vast majority of our oxygen comes from aquatic organisms. In other words, even in the likely, or rather unlikely scenario where every single tree were chopped down, we would still be able to breathe thanks to aquatic plant life. Example, algae. The Earth has a tremendous amount of water, and these oceans, rivers, and lakes are teeming with numerous species of biologically active, oxygen producing organisms. There are more than 7,000 different species of algae, which come in three colors: red, brown, and green. Green algae get their color from chlorophyll and thrive near the surface where there is most sunlight for photosynthesis. Green algae are not as common as red and brown. Seaweeds such as kelp are not plants, but are actually algae. Brown algae is the most abundant, with over 5,000 species, though not are all totally brown. Red algae lives where light is dimmer in deeper waters. Hey, Genevieve, welcome in. Good to see you. So we've got a picture here of the red algae, the brown algae, and the green algae. And it says algae can range from the microscopic microalgae to large seaweeds, which is macroalgae, algae that grow over 100 feet long. Here we are. Discovered only in 1977, hydrothermal vents from when seawater seeps into the Earth's crust, where it is heated by the underlying magma. It then rises to the surface, where it emerges through the seafloor as buoyant plumes of particle-rich superheated fluid. These vents lie hundreds to thousands of meters deep and are home to a plethora of previously unknown species that thrive in extremely deep ocean ecosystems, which are uncommonly found near undersea volcanic chains. Or wait, they're actually commonly found there. Hey, Cool Gamer, welcome in. So, wait, these vents lie hundreds to thousands of meters deep and are home to a plethora of previously unknown species that thrive in extremely deep ocean ecosystems, which are commonly found near undersea volcanic chains. These deep-sea hydrothermal vents are home to hundreds of species, surviving at temperature extremes and at pressures exceeding 200 times that on the Earth's surface. How is life possible down there? In the process called chemosynthesis, microbes at the base of the food chain convert chemicals from the vents into usable energy. The prime example of chemosynthesis is in the warm fluids of the hydrothermal vent on the Juan de Fuca Ridge near Washington State, rich with an exotic biodiversity of deep ocean life such as tube worms, limpets, and snails. At 2,200 meters or 7,200 feet deep, where these animals live, there is no sunlight, and thus no sun-driven photosynthesis. Life there thrives at high temperatures and pressures, extracting nutrients from a brew of chemicals dissolved from rocks below the seafloor. Bacteria are among the organisms at the base of the marine food chain and are plentiful around these vents where there is an abundance of nutrients. And then we've got figure 2, Juan de Fuca Ridge, hydrothermal black smoker. Wow! That's underwater. Look at it. It looks like smoke. Isn't that so cool? It's like underwater rivers and shit. Hey everyone, welcome y'all. Lurkers and anyone, now and later. Cool beans, welcome. Andrea knows, awesome. My river runs to him. Hey, welcome in. Oh, we're reading Gods with Amnesia, Subterranean Worlds of Inner Earth by Robert Sepehr. Before the discovery of these hydrothermal vents and their ecosystems, scientists believed that only small animals lived at the ocean bottom, in seafloor sediments. They theorized that these animals received their food from above because the established model of the marine food chain depended on sunlight and photosynthesis, just as the food chain on land does. Mainstream academia taught that this was the only way life could survive in the darkness of the deep seafloor. The discovery of hydrothermal vents changed all that. It became clear that vast communities of animals grew quickly and to larger than expected sizes in the depths without the aid of the sun. Instead of using light to create organic material, photosynthesis, microorganisms at the bottom of the food chain at hydrothermal vents used chemicals such as hydrogen sulfide or chemosynthesis. At the seafloor, there are thriving ecosystems that receive energy not from the sun, but from the heat and chemicals provided by the planet itself. For many thousands of species dwelling in the deep, the energy to sustain life does not flow down from above, but comes up from the interior of the earth. Since discovering hydrothermal vents in late 70s, researchers have identified more than 300 organisms with over 90% being completely new to science. To live at the vents, many of these organisms have unusual and peculiar adaptations. Some scientists have speculated that life originated in deep environments, similar to these hydrothermal vents. Others have suggested that if these environments exist on other planets, then life might very well exist there too. Then we've got a picture of figure 3 here. Unidentified sea spider. Oh my god, this looks like those huge spiders in Florida. Sea spider from Juan de la Fuca Ridge, hydrothermal vents, 2,300 meters. Oh, oh my gosh. Hey, little wing, welcome in. Batman, long time no see, dude. Dang, creepy, creepy. I wonder what goes inside that thing's head. Or, I mean, what goes on inside that spider's head. All right. Ooh. It's okay. Everything's fine. Did you just say, oh, firefly? Oh my gosh. Okay, so where did I put it? Right here. I pulled this out today. It glows in the dark. It's a little firefly that my good friend Pam got me. Oh my gosh. Where's the little note? Let's see if I can't find it. Oh. Lucky little firefly. Carry this little firefly wherever you go, and when the sun sets, his body will glow. He brings good luck always with his magical light, bringing sunshine from within, whether day or night. Isn't this awesome? I know, right? I feel like I should charge it up and then I don't know how to show you the glow. It's so cool when it's glowing though. I was trying to prop it up somewhere so I could see it, but I gave up. Okay, I can go back there. Oh, hey, let's flip this thing. I love time turners like this. We grew up with a huge one. It was huge. It was massive. At one point it was it came up to my shoulder, but I was tiny. But yeah, it was for I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes maybe, but it was massive. When I say massive, I say 2 feet, 2.5 feet maybe. It was great. We got it at Ashley Furniture in California. I remember. Okay. So, giant spiders. Okay. In a May 2015 article in the Science Times called, quote, NASA hopes to rely on algae and bacteria for oxygen production on Mars, end quote. Rachel Wendt details how one of the most critical issues in colonizing Mars, oxygen production, may be solved by two very basic organisms, bacteria and algae. And then we've got a little excerpt here. Quote, NASA envisions biodomes stretching across the Martian landscape, which would house vast colonies of oxygen-producing algae and bacteria. But first, they'll see if it works on a small scale. They intend to send tightly sealed canisters of microorganisms aboard future rover missions that would then be implanted in the Martian soil. The canisters will then be monitored, hopefully resulting in the production of oxygen. And their concept is hardly science fiction, for these minuscule organisms have been performing this vital function on Earth for millions of years. Between 70 and 80% of the oxygen on our planet is generated by photosynthetic algae, and we'll find out. Cyanobacteria, Cyanobacteria, cyanobacteria. Wait, isn't that like a color? Is that the red one? Algae contain light-absorbing chloroplasts and produce oxygen through photosynthesis. They can be found in flesh and salt. They can be found in fresh and salt water, and on rocks, trees, and in soil. Cyanobacteria are also aquatic and photosynthetic, and make up the oldest known fossils on Earth. The 3.5 billion year old Stromatolites. The 3.5 billion year old stromatolites that dot the shallow shores of Western Australia. These organisms are part and parcel to life on our planet. And considering the fine job they do here on Earth, perhaps they can do the same for Mars. And then this is an artistic conception of NASA's Martian Greenhouse. Wow, it looks just like all the pictures NASA shows us. Mr. Hugh, DKs! Oh my gosh, I've been missing you, dude. Welcome. Okay, so should we look that up? Cyanobacteria. Boop. 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 Okay, here we go. Ooh. Okay, let's get this over here. Cyanobacteria definition.
Cyanobacteria.
Cyanobacteria. Okay, cool. A division of microorganisms that are related to the bacteria, but are capable of photosynthesis. They are prokaryotic and represent the earliest known form of life on Earth. Cyanobacteria. Cool. And wasn't there another word that I struggled with? Stromatolites. Oh my gosh, I wonder if you can hear my belly. It was like, Stromatolites. Where are you again? Son of a gun, dude. There you are. Stromatolites. Stromatolite. A calcareous mound. Calcareous, I don't know what that means. A calcareous mound built up of layers of lime-secreting cyanobacteria and trapped sediment found in Precambrian rocks as the earliest known fossils, and still being formed in lagoons in Australasia. Stromatolite.
Stromatolite.
Cool. Stromatolites or stromatoliths are layered sedimentary formations that are created mainly by photosynthetic microorganisms such as cyanobacteria, sulfate-reducing bacteria, and Pseudomonadoda. I don't know what that. These microorganisms produce adhesive compounds that cement sand and other rocky material to form mineral microbial mats. Wow! Stromatolite. Cool. Mars. Okay. Bum 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 bum. Back to the YouTube. Was that the end of this? Yeah. Phytoplankton are microscopic and usually inhabit the top layer of oceans and bodies of fresh water. Most phytoplankton float, preferring to reside near the surface where light penetrates the water. At certain times and places, they can reach 100 meters, about 100 yards in thickness. Phytoplankton, kelp, and algae produce oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis, a process which converts carbon dioxide and light into sugars, which are then used for energy. While the process of photosynthesis usually implies the presence of sunlight, the sun is not the only available light or energy source available to power photosynthesis, which we will explore later. In the concept of an underground cave or a deep subterranean cavern, one could expect to find plenty of oxygen if there was a sufficient water source with the right conditions nearby. Recently, geologists established that there is more ocean water below the surface than there is above the Earth's crust. According to a 2014 article published in Nature World News entitled Vast Underwater Ocean Trapped Beneath Earth's Crust, quote, scientists have discovered evidence of a vast water reservoir trapped hundreds of miles beneath the surface, capable of filling Earth's oceans 3 times over, end quote. Dang. Although a considerable amount of this subterranean water is trapped within the molecules of rocks, there is still a tremendous quality of life-sustaining liquid water which flows deep beneath us. Here's a picture, figure 5. Figure 5. Artistic depiction of a subterranean river. Aren't some of these subterranean underground rivers too like caustic material that would hurt us, like lime or lye or something like that? I think about that too. I was watching these guys that were doing some like exploring in caves on YouTube this past week, and they were exploring places that had never, well, who's to say, right? But supposedly had never been explored, and that they were off limits, and they were like, man, watching them crawl into these areas and find all different kinds of caverns and stuff. But sometimes, like, they have to like almost be extortionists. Oh wait, is that how you say that? Contortionists. They had to be like contortionists and to get their body through some of these little crevices. And at one point while I was watching them, I got this like sense of like, and this is probably because I was like, I loved Dungeons and Dragons at one point and like writing the stories and stuff. But like sometimes you would go into caves and there would be like gas in there that would be deadly, like deadly gas. And I started thinking about that with those guys venturing into these caves that supposedly no one's been to forever. Like, or like caves where there's like a layer where the gas only comes so far, but if you like were to bend down, whoop, lights out. I wonder if it ever goes the other way where it just like hangs. Anyways, it's cool. Oh, hey, I have a little bit different setup because I've been moving my stuff all around, but It is amazing how the dark depths of caves harbor some of the most mysterious, bizarre, and beautiful animals yet discovered. Live Science published an article in 2012 called Cave Dwelling Plants: Strange Subterranean Nettles Discovered in China, describing massive caves recently discovered in China that contained unusual new species of plants that require very little light to photosynthesize. These new plant species were described in the journal Photokeys. Quote, one might not expect flowering plants with pinkish petals to be flourishing on the floor of a dark cave, but that's exactly where researchers discovered such a species in southern China. Botanist Alex Monroe of London's Natural History Museum said he thought his Chinese colleague must have been mistranslating a word when he first mentioned the cave dwelling plants. But then Monroe saw the flora for himself. Quote, when we stepped into our first cave, Yangtze Cave, I was spellbound. It had an eerie moonscape look to it, and all I could see were clumps of plants in the nettle family growing in very dark conditions. End quote. Monroe said in a statement. The newly described plant was dubbed Pileae cavernicola. Pileae cavernicola. While it doesn't grow in total darkness, it survives with levels of light as low as 0.04% of full sunlight in caves. In China's Guangxi province. Guangxi. Ah, dang it. It's like I know that word, but that might be it. Guangxi. Xi is like, maybe. Guangxi province, the researchers said, end quote. In the biology of caves and other subterranean habitats, David Culver and Tanja Pippin provide an updated clarification and synthesis of our understanding of the biology of the subterranean world. In it, we learn that the heat from deep sea vents is high enough that visible light is emitted. Over 94% of the world's unfrozen freshwater is stored underground, compared to only 3.6% found in surface lakes and reservoirs. Wow! All the surface lakes and reservoirs are only, easy for me to say, 3.6 of the fresh water? 3.6%? Hey, Ashley Lowe, welcome in! Wow! Compared to only 3.6% found in surface lakes and reservoirs, with the rest in soil, rivers, and the atmosphere. The authors make a case for 521,000 square kilometers of subsurface spaces and cavities in the bedrock of the United States alone. Most of these contain water, which means that roughly 10 to 40% of the total prokaryotic biomass, example the bacteria, on the planet may be in the subsurface. It is very interesting to consider the many microorganisms that can and do can obtain energy from the chemical bonds of inorganic molecules. It is very interesting to consider the many microorganisms that can obtain energy from the chemical bonds of inorganic molecules. It is equally fascinating how some organisms, such as bacteria or algae, can produce light or glow in the dark. The word for this seemingly magical ability is called bioluminescence, which comes from bio, meaning life, and lumen, meaning light. Most of these plankton glow blue, but a few glow red, green, or orange. Some tiny animal plankton, zooplankton, are big enough to see with the unaided eye. Most bioluminescent zooplankton don't glow in the dark themselves, but instead squirt globs of glowing chemicals into the water. Some zooplankton are bioluminescence to attract a mate or to form reproductive swarms. Not only is nature's biochemistry fascinating, it can also be extremely beautiful, especially given the backdrop of a dark, misty cave. Makes me think about like the way our cells talk to each other and stuff and the stuff they secrete. Figure 6. Dr. Charlotte Marquinto. Dr. Charlotte Marquinto of the National Oceanography of the National Oceanography Center triggers chemical reactions in bioluminescent organisms. This is a really poor picture. It's super dark. But look at those glowing things in that vial. Glowing bacteria can live alone or with other organisms, such as fish and squid, dwelling inside their organs in a symbiotic relationship, or as parasites. Alone, the bacteria doesn't glow that much, but in large enough colonies, something amazing happens called quorum sensing. The bacteria, upon realizing they have enough of each other around, activate genes that allow them to glow. The light emitted is extremely efficient at around 99%, meaning that only 1% is lost through heat, thus producing luminescence that is also cool. Figure 7. Bioluminescent bacterial light bulb. Huh. Hey, Singe Man, Miss Six, welcome in, everybody. This is so cool. Glowworm is the common name for various groups of insect larvae and adult larviform females that glow through bioluminescence. My little firefly. They may sometimes resemble worms, but are actually insects. The glow they produce through by a chemical, I think that's supposed to be though. The glow they produce, though by a chemical reaction, is incredibly efficient. It is supposed to be though. I'm crossing that out. It just looks like I added an X. The glow they produce, though by a chemical reaction, is incredibly efficient. Nearly 100% of the energy input is turned into light. Compare this to the best light-emitting diodes at just 24%. The purpose of the glow varies. Adult females may glow to attract a male for mating. Some types of larvae are believed to glow as a warning to predators not to eat them, as they are sometimes toxic. The Arachnocampa and Orphelia larvae, on the other hand, glow to attract prey into sticky snare lines, which capture the prey for the larva to feed on. Australia and New Zealand have some of the most spectacular caves, where one can go on guided tours to witness this natural phenomenon up close. Wow! Figure 8. Waitomo glowworm caves in New Zealand. Look at that. It's like the cosmos. It's cool. I think they're in a boat. Oh my gosh, dude. They're like in a canoe. That's cool. Some winged beetles are more commonly called fireflies or lightning bugs for their conspicuous use of bioluminescence during twilight to attract mates or prey. The light produced by fireflies is also a cold light, with no infrared or ultraviolet frequencies. It is the result of a chemical reaction emitted from their lower abdomens, and may be yellow, green, or pale red, with wavelengths from 510 to 670 nanometers. Why do some mushrooms emit light? Making light isn't common in fungi. Fungi? Fungi. Mm. Scientists have described about 100,000 fungal species, and only 75 glow. The question of glowing mushrooms dates all the way to Aristotle, who was the first person known to have wondered about this, according to J. Dunlap, a geneticist and molecular biologist at the Giesel School of Medicine at Dartmouth College. In the March 2015 journal, Current Biology, Dunlap reported on experiments that suggest at least one kind of mushroom controls when it glows. Neonathop Neonath Neonathopanus gardneri is the name of this dramatic mushroom, which commonly grows in Brazilian forests and emits an eerie green light. Figure 9, luminescent glow-in-the-dark mushrooms from a forest in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Neonathopanus gardneri. Here they are. Oh! Wow, right? Are they toxic? Are they poison? Lab work has shown that the glow of this particular mushroom did not happen randomly or by accident. Scientists found that these mushrooms made light mostly at night, so experiments were conducted to determine why. The findings indicated that the mushrooms lured bugs, which then spread the mushroom spores where there was very little or no wind. Dude, nature is the smartest, coolest thing. Of the 75 currently known species of bioluminescent fungi, almost all are mushroom forming, white spored, and members of the order Agaricales, Basidiomycota. Bioluminescent fungi emit a greenish light at a wavelength of 520 to 530 nm nanometers of continuous light emission, which occurs only in living cells and may occur in both mycelia and fruit bodies. Conditions that affect the growth of fungi, such as pH, light, and temperature, have been found to influence bioluminescence, suggesting a link between metabolic activity and fungal bioluminescence. According to studies, in dark environments, bioluminescent fruit bodies may be at an advantage by attracting insects and other arthropods that could help disperse their spores. If this conclusion holds, one could reasonably hypothesize that environments with little or no wind, such as deep subterranean caves, could potentially harbor an especially high proportion of luminescent fungi. And then figure 10, Mycena, Chlorophas is a documented species of bioluminescent fungi from the Bonin Islands off Japan's coast. Wow. So cool, right? I think so. In the poem, The Ancient Track by H.P. Lovecraft, Foxfire is seen glowing in field and bog, where the narrator is convinced he will find the town of Dunwich. In the novel The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer use foxfire as a light source while digging a tunnel. Foxfire, sometimes also called fairy fire, is the bioluminescence present in a fungus usually found in decaying wood. The oldest recorded documentation of foxfire is by Aristotle in 382 BC. whose notes refer to a light that, unlike fire, was cold to the touch. The Roman thinker Pliny the Elder also mentioned glowing wood in olive groves. In the forests of the Congo, this growing fungus is known as chimpanzee fire and is responsible for breaking down much of the decaying leaves on the forest floor. Figure 11. Scientists hypothesize that the bright bluish-green light is meant to attract insects that help spread fungal spores. Ooh. Dude, I'm going to pull up a picture of fungus like this right now. Okay, so what's this stuff called? Well, let's just say foxfire. Foxfire fungus images. Ooh. Open image in new tab. That's cool. I'm sharing that with you guys. Is this real or is this computer? This is a computer. This one's from a computer, I think. Here's a really cool one that's open in new tab. Ooh, okay. Does this thing glow though? Do these glow? This is Foxfire Glow by Trickster Blue Jay on DeviantArt. Okay, I'm going to share this picture. Back to the StreamYard YouTubes. Share. Chrome tab. Share. Isn't that cool? Ooh. Hey, Maryland 21. Come on. Welcome in. Thank you. Lichen. Okay, I'm going to continue reading. A lichen is a composite organism that arises from algae and cyanobacteria, living in a symbiotic relationship among filaments of a fungus. The algae feeds the fungus. Fungi are incapable of making their own food. They usually provide for themselves as parasites or decomposers. The combined life form has properties which are very different from the properties of its component organisms. Lichens, no, that's werewolves. Lichens, yeah. Lichens come in many colors, sizes, and forms, often having a greenish gray, yellow, brown, or blackish thallus, which grows in leaf-like, crust-like, or branching forms on rocks or wood. Lichens aren't luminous, but they can glow because of the chemistry of the symbiotic relationship involved. An example of the intensity and practicality of this luminescence comes from the First World War, where soldiers in the trenches supposedly fixed chunks of the glowing wood to their helmet and bayonets to avoid nasty accidents at night. Wow. Hey, Pearl, welcome in. Oh my gosh. You shouldn't. That's such a good idea, Pearl. Oh my gosh. Make clay glow in the dark jewelry with bioluminescence. I wonder how long the chemical reaction lasts. That's cool. Okay. Out of the 20,000 or so lichen species, only 2 are poisonous. Letharia vulpina and Vulpicida pinastri, or wolf lichen and powdered sunshine lichen. Both of these are conveniently yellow. Some lichen are edible, but require proper preparation to be eaten. Unprepared lichen tastes somewhat bitter and probably won't kill you, but can be unpleasant on your digestive tract. Figure 12. Lichens are abundant, widespread, and many species are edible and very rich in starch-like substances. So here's a picture of this girl munching on. Oh, take that picture. Well, son of a gun. Stop screen. One of the most widespread and commonly eaten lichen is Cledonia. Cledonia rangiferina, also known as Cledina rangiferina, which can also be made into an alternative to grain alcohol and has even been made into molasses. Most lichen that you see are roughly 94% carbohydrates, which is about 14% more carbohydrates than a potato. Wow. To make this nutrition source usable, one must first remove the acid, which is what makes digestion difficult. The amount of acid varies from species to species, with the Cledonias being among the least acidic. Nutritional studies suggest Cledonias are, by dry weight, 1.4% ash, 5.4% protein, 32.9% fiber, 2.1% fat, and 0.501% niacin. Oh, we've still got more. 3.7% calcium, and 0.09% phosphorus. They also have vitamin A, fiber, and protein. Wow! That's interesting. To make the lichen edible, they are soaked in several changes of water or with hardwood ashes. The modern version is to soak them in a 1% solution of potash. A method used in China is to boil lichen for 30 minutes, then soak them for 2 days in several changes of water, and then they are finally steamed. They are then ready to eat, plain or mixed with other things, or dried and added to flour, or as a thickener to soups. You have to soak acorns like that too. They're just too bitter, right? And there's like a roasting process. Lichen is often cooked until it turns into a gelatinous mass. The longer you soak and boil them, and the more frequently you change the water, the more palatable and less acidic they will be. One final word on the edibility of lichen. Noma, a Danish restaurant in Copenhagen that serves moss and lichen as a delicacy, has for 3 consecutive years, 2010, 11, and 12, won the annual S. Pellegrino World's 50 Best Restaurant Awards. Norma currently charges around $100 for a 3-course dinner featuring exotic dishes such as the protein-rich deep-fried reindeer lichen with mushroom powder. Yum. So here's a picture, figure 13. Fluffy triangles of reindeer lichen and seaweed-like Icelandic moss steamed and then deep-fried to a fragile crisp. Wow, it looks like lichen, dude. It looks like a rock. I wish these pictures were in color. We have briefly considered the possibility of how one may potentially have access to water, breathable air, and underground food source, and also have at least some minimal degree of diffuse visibility in a deep, dark subterranean cave system, tunnel, or cavern. Now, let us proceed to Chapter 1. Chapter 1. "44 minutes and 10 seconds. I was going to read this, but my stomach, I'm so hungry. I'm just going to call it. I think I'm going to eat dinner. And I don't know. I might go live later. I might not. Shoot. Am I going to? Yeah, I'm going to call it. And then it'll just be waiting for us whenever the next time is. So thank you very much for hanging out with me for this opening of Gods with Amnesia, Subterranean Worlds of Inner Earth by Robert Sepehr. And yeah, until next time, y'all. Mwah! New moon energy, you all. We got 2 more days until the new moon. Just throwing it out there. Thank you. See you soon.